All right, it is time to get you ready for a big weekend of college hoops. And none better than Joe Tipton. Tipton edits on Twitter, On3's college basketball expert, college basketball recruiting guru. And Joe, this is a guy I'm excited to ask you about because you know everybody in the sport. You covered everybody as a recruit. But did you know 6'1" Dalton Knecht out of Colorado going to JUCO like 5 years ago?
No, absolutely not. I didn't even know who he was when he was leaving Northern Colorado, when he was a top portal prospect this offseason. When he committed to Tennessee, I was asking people, hey, you know who this kid is? Hey, he looks like he put up good numbers. You know, he's grown. You said he was 6'1". Now he's 6'6". All right. He shot it well from the field. Who is he? And now everyone in the country knows who he is.
It's crazy. So he had 28 against Mississippi State, 36 against Georgia, and 39 the other night against Florida. And Rick Barnes comes into the locker room and is like, hey, Dalton got 8 rebounds. Let's give it up for him. So it's almost like they're trying to tamper this thing down because they're wondering how big he could get.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has injected new life into Tennessee basketball. This is a team, you know, whose offense kind of struggled in the past couple of years, and then he came in. And Tennessee is really fun to watch on the offensive end. Again, obviously we know their defense, you know, top in the country, but Dalton Knecht, I mean, SEC player of the year type of performance we've seen.
And it's so weird because this is not something we see in basketball. Like usually you're closer to the NBA than high school once you're that kind of prospect. But this is a guy he's a 6'2" guard. He could do a lot of things. He probably is going to be an NBA player, but came out of nowhere.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he's 23 years old.
Exactly. This is his, I think this is his 5th year of college basketball, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I don't think anybody knew who he was in Northern Colorado, but it shows you what can happen, you know, thanks to the transfer portal and the big stage playing on a team like Tennessee and the SEC.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. And, you know, I go back to like Anthony Davis's recruitment, and this happened in high school where he grew. He was actually, you know, he was kind of a middle of the road guard recruit. And then suddenly he shoots up and becomes a top tier big man recruit. But I don't think I've ever heard of a guy growing like that in college.
Yeah, very rare. I mean, most of the guys hit the growth spurt, like you said, in high school, but hitting it in college when you're already 18 years old, typically most people are done growing by then. So it's been fantastic to see his rise.
And so they've got Alabama on Saturday. Alabama's 4-0 in SEC play. They're coming off the win against Missouri. You had the Nate Oat incidents with Aiden Shaw. It sounds like that's all been kind of smoothed over. The SEC did issue a reprimand for Nate Oats, but you know, where is this Alabama team at right now? Because it seems like they're pretty hot in SEC play.
Yeah, Alabama's on fire. They, you know, lost some, you know, tough games earlier in the season, but they've played one of the toughest schedules over on King Palm. You can look at strength of schedule, and Alabama is at one of the top of the charts. But, you know, they lost a lot. They lost guys to the portal. They lost, you know, a guy like Brandon Miller to the NBA, and they had to bring new guys in. And sometimes it takes a little while to get things going. But don't let Alabama fool you. Just because they're an unranked team right now in the AP Top 25 poll, I don't expect that to last for long.
What you need to do right now, though, is go to fanduel.com/Staples. Fanduel is the best sports book in America. It is the easiest way to get started, to get some action on some games. And new customers, when you place a $5 bet, win or lose, you get $150 in guaranteed bonus bets. If you're looking for something right now, I'll give you an idea. So Illinois and Michigan tipping off in men's basketball, 8:30 Eastern time on Thursday night. So you're watching this show. You grab your app, you download the FanDuel app, sign up. Illinois is a 2.5-point favorite. Now, what you're saying, Michigan's not very good at basketball. Illinois is pretty good. Why is Illinois only a 2.5-point favorite? Because conference basketball games are hard to win on the road. And this was in Ann Arbor. Michigan just snapped a 5-game losing streak by beating Ohio State. So this is a little bit tricky. But you throw $5 down on that, you get $150 in guaranteed bonus bets. So go to fanduel.com/Staples and sign up now. Yeah, this is one of those. If it was in Tuscaloosa, I'd be saying, all right, get on FanDuel now and hit that Alabama money line. But this is in Knoxville, so it's maybe a little bit different. But it's interesting to see how they have, reloaded. And Oates seems like that's what it's going to be every year. He's going to have quite a bit of talent in that program. And even if you lose a person like Brandon Miller, you can still expect a similar kind of season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The transfer portal did great things for them. I think players are more inclined to go to Alabama, more than other schools just because of Nate Oates' style of play. It's run and gun, fast, an NBA style, shooting a lot of threes. So guys like 2 years ago, Mark Sears, Alabama's arguably the best player. He decides to transfer to Alabama in this past offseason. A guy like Grant Nelson, who's not what some people expected, but he's still a good player. And then another guy who's Aaron Estrada, who's also having a big year for him.
Is that what all the players want now? Like because the analytics drove it to threes and layups, which is what Nate Oates preaches. Is that what the players want? Because that's what the next level is going to bring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a place to play on one of the biggest stages, the SEC, traditionally a football conference, but I mean, not any longer. I mean, you have to pay attention in basketball as well. And then also all these guys, they want to play professionally. And if you're playing professionally, professional style in college, you already got a leg up.
So speaking of leagues and stages, we spent all this time talking about the Big 12 and realignment. And I think a lot of our conversations have been about football, but what it wound up as is one of the better basketball conferences in the country. Was already one of the best ones. Then you add Houston into the mix. You add BYU, Cincinnati, who have had periods where they've been good in basketball. But it's crazy this year, Joe. We were going over it before we started recording, where okay, so Iowa State has beaten Houston but lost to Cincinnati. BYU has beaten UCF and Iowa State, but UCF has beaten Kansas and Texas. It's nuts.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone knew the Big 12 is a gauntlet of a league. Everybody know there's no off nights, but you even think about a team like BYU coming into the conference, from, the mid-major plus ranks, right? You don't expect them to be a top 25 caliber team. You don't expect UCF to knock off Texas or Kansas, but this is, the Big 12, 8 ranked teams in the top 25. That's not super uncommon. But the upsets that we've already seen this season is going to make it even more fun.
Well, and you got like Iowa State and TCU this Saturday. It feels like if you get this is a game like TCU, when you get this one at home, you got to win this one, because you're then going to turn around and go on the road, and it's going to be probably a bigger challenge. And it's just it does put a premium on, like, when you get a winnable game at home, like, you got to win it.
Oh, yeah. And it's so hard to win on the road. I mean, so hard to win on the road. So, I mean, you have to take advantage of every home opportunity and just do what you can to, fight tooth and nail to get a win.
Yeah, the Texas UCF thing is crazy, because you had the horns down from the UCF folks after the game, or the guys in the layup line, which I'm sure Brett Yormark, the new commissioner of the commissioner of the Big 12, is like, thank you, we appreciate that. But is Texas going to be able to handle the SEC if they can't handle little horns down from UCF?
I mean, Rodney Terry, he's one of those guys. He will tell you how he feels. He's just an honest guy. I mean, he was unhappy as he walked through that line. Everyone saw that video of him, saying to the players, that's classless, basically said, don't do that. But I mean, we'll see. They got to turn things around. I mean, they're struggling this season, barely knocked off Louisville. Obviously, like you said, just lost to UCF. So they got some work that needs to be done.
Well, and okay, so Rodney Terry replaced Chris Beard. We all know what happened with Chris Beard that got him fired at Texas. The police report was not pretty. He's now at Ole Miss. He's having a pretty good first year at Ole Miss, and they're playing Bruce Pearl and Auburn this weekend. What has Chris Beard done to get Ole Miss this good this quickly?
Well, first, he got talent. He got guys in the transfer portal. He got lucky on a couple guys, Brandon Murray, Musa Cisse, 2-time transfers that weren't playing until they allowed, the NCAA started to allow the 2-time guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so he acquired talent, and he's just a really good coach. There's no denying that. You can say what you want about him off the court, but he wins. He's done it at every place he's ever been. He brought Texas Tech to a Final Four. I mean, even Ole Miss, they've won 15 games so far this season. We're only in mid-January. Last year, Kermit Davis only won 13 on the entire year. So they've already surpassed what they did last year.
It is interesting. And, Bruce Pearl got to Auburn, revolutionized that program. And you mentioned, you were talking about the SEC and just how rugged it is. It feels like it is even deeper as a basketball conference. When you look at, Eric Musselman had been fantastic at Arkansas. They're having a rough year this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Arkansas was kind of a shocker. I didn't anticipate them to lose this many games. We talked about the transfer portal. It did wonders for Tennessee and Dalton Knecht, but then a team like Arkansas, they live and breathe off the transfer portal. And they brought in several talented guys, and it's just not paying out for them as much so far.
So another team where things have not gone well, and it's a little more because of injury than transfer portal luck, is Gonzaga. So they 143-week streak of being ranked in the top 25. They've been ranked in the top 25 since 2016, and that ended this week. What has gone wrong for Mark Few and his team this year?
Well, I think it's a lot about what they lost and just their roster turnover. I mean, you lose a guy like you lose guys like Drew Timme, Julian Strother, both of them combined for 36 points per game. So you lose your top two scorers. The guys that you bring in, you're like, okay, you bring in Nimhard from Creighton. He isn't as great as people kind of expected him to be, struggling behind the 3-point line. I don't think it has anything to do with coaching. Mark Few, 24 straight NCAA appearances. There's no denying that he is a winner. But I think it's just like a lack of talent all around with the guys that they lost.
Yeah, they had a couple guys get hurt preseason, and it just sort of it seems to have spiraled. Meanwhile, UConn looks like they're going to rip through everybody again.
Oh yeah,
they don't look like they've lost a step from the tournament last year.
Yeah, I was watching them last night play Creighton, and oh my goodness. Absolutely suffocating on the defensive end. Just the talent that they have. They have 6, 7 really, really, really good players, and it would not be a surprise at all if they were to repeat. In fact, I think the Huskies have the best chance out of anyone in college basketball to go back-to-back for the first time since Florida Gators did with Billy Donovan in 06-07. So they are a really talented team.
But it's such a different situation now. Like that team that you talked about, the Florida team, I covered those teams as a beat writer. Those guys were all recruited out of high school. It was almost dumb luck that they happened to have the chemistry they had, and then they stay together for another year. Now you can kind of experiment with that. Like you can move pieces in and out with the portal every year. And the whole get old, stay old thing that the mid majors used to practice. It's like the high majors can be old too now.
Yeah, absolutely. You even think about a guy like Cam Spencer. He's one of UConn's best players. He started his career at Loyola, Maryland, I believe it was. Yeah. Played 3 years there, 1 year at Rutgers, and then gets to UConn via the transfer portal. And he's going to be able to contend for a national title. He's on the best team in college basketball.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So you can start at Loyola, Maryland, and then be a key player on a team that's going to be favored to win a national title, or you can be a 6'1" JUCO guard and wind up playing at 6'6" in the SEC, dropping 39 on the Florida Gators. Like that is, it's crazy how the sport has changed with the portal, because basketball is always a transfer heavy sport, even when guys were willing to sit out for a while. But like now that you can do it, and especially this year where they had the court ruling and guys who transferred twice could just go play. How much has that accelerated this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You already have the one-time transfer rule. So anybody you go to college, you don't like your situation, all right, you can play right away. But now with the 2-time transfers, and then of course don't even forget about COVID years and grad transfers that are immediately eligible. It's just all hell broke loose, and everybody can play now. So I can only imagine the hours that I'll be putting in come March and April, the transfer portal this offseason, if we're basically operating under the assumption that anyone can play.
Call our pal Pete Nako so he can give you some advice, because his head is spinning right now.
I bet.
As of late. So yeah, you guys need to trade notes, because you could help him, because you did this way before he had to do it, but now he's got it coming from all sides. Like every time somebody retires, it's just boom, everything opens up again. So
For sure.
yeah, it's a fun one. Joe, thank you so much, and enjoy the games this weekend.
Absolutely. Same to you, Andy.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.